In the early 2000s, deep inside General Motors Engineering Center in Pontiac, Michigan, something extraordinary was happening. Behind locked doors, away from journalists, away from dealers, away from the public, a group of engineers was building what many inside GM believed could become the greatest American luxury performance engine of the modern era. A hand-built, twin-turbocharged V8, 32 valves, dual overhead cams, aerospace-level engineering. Over 550 horsepower right out of the box, and enough torque to embarrass European exotics costing twice as much. It was called the Blackwing. But here's the part almost nobody knows. Before most people ever heard the name, the engine was already doomed. No massive recall, no public disaster, no spectacular race failure. In fact, by almost every technical measure, the engine was brilliant. And that's exactly what made its death so shocking. Because the real story behind the Blackwing V8 wasn't about engineering failure. It was about timing, politics, money, and an automotive industry changing faster than anyone expected. Most people think the golden age of American V8s died slowly. The truth is, one of the greatest V8s GM ever created was killed before the public ever truly got to experience it. And what happened next changed Cadillac forever. To understand why the Blackwing mattered so much, you have to understand what Cadillac was trying to become. Back in the 1990s, Cadillac had a problem. Actually, several problems. The brand was old, conservative, soft, comfortable, sure, but exciting? Not even close. Your grandfather drove a Cadillac. Your golf club president drove a Cadillac. Retired dentists in Florida drove Cadillacs. But young professionals with money to spend? They were buying German. Meanwhile, over in Germany, companies like BMW and Mercedes-Benz were dominating the luxury performance market. The BMW M5 was becoming a legend. AMG was stuffing giant engines into sedans and terrifying highways across Europe. Audi was perfecting all-wheel drive performance. Cadillac looked ancient by comparison. The brand had heritage, sure. Prestige, maybe. But performance credibility? Zero. GM executives knew they needed something radical, not just a better car. A statement. That's when the V-Series project was born. The first CTS-V arrived in 2004 with a Corvette-sourced LS6 V8 making 400 horsepower. Suddenly, Cadillac had something that could actually run with the Germans. Then came the supercharged LSA and LT4 engines. Loud, brutal, effective. Cadillac was finally building cars that could compete on a racetrack. But inside GM, some engineers wanted more than brute force. They wanted sophistication. They wanted an engine that could stand toe-to-toe with Europe's best on engineering alone. Not just horsepower, not just quarter-mile times. They wanted technological credibility. Because the pushrod V8s were great, but they were still fundamentally old-school American. Big displacement, superchargers, traditional architecture. What if Cadillac could build something truly modern? And by the mid-2010s, development quietly began on a completely new power plant. Not an old-school pushrod V8. A clean-sheet masterpiece. The Blackwing. At first glance, the number sounded insane. The engine displaced 4.2 liters. That's 255 cubic inches. Tiny compared to classic American big blocks. Almost laughably small compared to the 6.2-liter monsters Cadillac had been using. But this thing was packed with technology. It used a 3.39-inch bore and a 3.66-inch stroke. Dual overhead camshafts. 4 valves per cylinder. A hot V turbo layout with the turbochargers mounted inside the valley of the engine for shorter exhaust routing and faster spool. The hot V design was cutting edge. Mercedes-AMG had pioneered it. Audi was using it. Now GM was proving they could execute it just as well. Compression ratio? 9.8 to 1. Boost pressure? Around 20 psi in high output form. Horsepower? 550. Torque? 627 pound-feet? And unlike most GM V8s, every single Blackwing engine was hand-assembled by one technician at the Performance Build Center in Bowling Green, Kentucky. One builder, one engine, one signature plaque. Just like Mercedes-AMG does in a Falterbach. Just like Ferrari does in Maranello. This wasn't just engineering, it was craftsmanship. But there was a problem. Actually, several. Because building a sophisticated twin-turbo luxury engine sounds great in a boardroom. Building one that survives real-world abuse is something else entirely. The Blackwing used an aluminum block and aluminum heads to save weight. The crankshaft was forged steel. The connecting rods were forged steel too. Even the pistons were specifically designed to handle extreme cylinder pressures under boost. At full load, combustion temperatures were brutal, and heat became the enemy almost immediately. Engineers discovered that under sustained hard driving, especially during track testing in Arizona and Nevada, temperatures inside the hot V layout skyrocketed. The turbochargers sat tightly packed between the cylinder banks like glowing furnaces. Underhood heat soak became a nightmare. Wiring insulation started degrading. Oil temperatures climbed dangerously high. Intake air temps spiked after repeated acceleration runs. One engineer reportedly described the engine bay as an oven with pistons. Cooling became the obsession. So GM attacked the problem aggressively. They redesigned cooling passages inside the heads, added dedicated intercoolers, revised airflow management around the turbos. The oiling system was upgraded with high-capacity scavenging pumps to prevent starvation during high G cornering. They tested in Death Valley. They tested at high-altitude mountain passes. They tested on racetracks during summer heat. And the fixes worked. By 2018, the engine was producing terrifying numbers. In the Cadillac CT6V, the Blackwing launched a nearly 4,400-pound luxury sedan from 0 to 60 in about 3.8 seconds. Quarter mile? Around 12 seconds flat at over 118 an E. That put it directly against monsters like the BMW M760i and Mercedes-AMG E63. Except Cadillac had done it with a smaller engine and enormous torque. Most people don't realize how insane 627 pound-feet really is. That's diesel truck territory. That's more torque than most naturally aspirated supercars make. And because peak torque arrived low in the rev range, thanks to the twin-scroll turbochargers, the car felt violent from almost any speed. Third gear at 40 mph? Stomp the throttle and the rear tires would break loose. Highway roll racing? The CT6V would pull like a freight train. Test drivers said it didn't accelerate like a normal sedan. It lunged. Journalists who got early drives came away stunned. This wasn't the Cadillac they remembered. This was something genuinely world-class. The engine pulled cleanly from 2,000 RPM all the way to redline. The power band felt endless. There was no turbo lag to speak of, just instant crushing thrust. It sounded different too. Not like the supercharged CTS-V, not like the old Northstar V8s. This was smoother, more refined, with a deep mechanical growl layered with turbo whistle. European, but unmistakably powerful. But then the real nightmare started. Because while engineers were perfecting the Blackwing, the market around them was collapsing. The world was changing fast. Fuel economy regulations tightened globally. Emission standards became harsher every year. Europe was openly discussing bans on internal combustion engines. China was pushing EV adoption aggressively. And inside GM, executives had started seeing the future differently. Electric. In 2017 and 2018, while the Blackwing program was nearing production, GM leadership was already investing billions into battery platforms and autonomous technology. Mary Barra, GM's CEO, had publicly committed the company to an all-electric future. The Ultium battery platform was consuming massive resources. Development budgets were being reallocated. Suddenly, this incredibly expensive hand-built V8 looked less like the future and more like a beautiful relic from a dying era. And the cost problem was massive. See, the Blackwing wasn't cheap to build. Not even close. Unlike GM's traditional pushrod small blocks, this engine required far more machining complexity. Dual overhead cams meant more moving parts. 4 camshafts instead of 1. Complex timing chains. Precision turbo plumbing. Dedicated cooling systems. Advanced electronics. The engine management system alone was incredibly sophisticated. Variable valve timing on all 4 camshafts. NOx sensors monitoring every cylinder. Boost control systems adjusting pressure thousands of times per second. Every engine reportedly cost dramatically more to produce than the supercharged LT4 V8 used in the CTS-V. And the volume projections were tiny, because there was another issue. The CT6 itself wasn't selling. That part really hurt, because the CT6 was supposed to be Cadillac's world-class flagship sedan. Their answer to the S-Class and 7 Series? But American luxury buyers were moving toward SUVs fast. Sedan sales kept falling. Even the Germans were struggling. BMW 7 Series sales were declining. Mercedes S-Class numbers were dropping. The entire full-size luxury sedan segment was shrinking every quarter. And Cadillac was late to the SUV game. So GM faced a brutal question. Why keep funding a massively expensive hand-built engine designed for a car nobody was buying? The business case just wasn't there anymore. You can probably guess what happened next. But the truth is even crazier. In early 2019, just months after journalists finally got serious seat time with the CT6V, GM quietly announced the shutdown of the Detroit Hamtramck plant where the CT6 was built. Just like that, the Blackwing's future evaporated. The engine had barely entered the public consciousness. Most Americans had never even seen one in person. Production numbers stayed tiny. Estimates vary, but only a few hundred CT6Vs equipped with the Blackwing were ever built before the program effectively ended. Some sources say fewer than 300 total. Think about that for a second. GM spent years engineering one of the most sophisticated V8s in company history, and killed it almost immediately. No second generation, no widespread rollout, no Corvette version, no Escalade V application, nothing. The engine vanished almost as quickly as it appeared, and enthusiasts were stunned, because technically, the Blackwing was exactly the kind of engine critics claimed American automakers could never build. Smooth, refined, high-tech, powerful, compact. It revved cleanly, delivered massive torque, passed emissions, survived brutal durability testing. It proved GM could build a world-class DOHC luxury performance engine when it wanted to. It proved American engineering could match the Germans on their own terms. But by the time it arrived, the industry no longer wanted engines like this. And that's the tragic part of the story. The Blackwing wasn't killed because it failed. It was killed because the world changed underneath it. The market shifted. Priorities changed. The future became electric, whether enthusiasts liked it or not. Today, the irony is almost unbelievable. The name Blackwing survived. The engine didn't. Cadillac later reused the Blackwing badge on high-performance versions of the CT4V and CT5V, but those cars use completely different engines. The CT5V Blackwing uses the supercharged 6.2-liter LT4 pushrod V8. Incredible engine, yes, but not the original twin-turbo DOHC Blackwing. The real Blackwing became almost mythical. A ghost engine. Most people have never heard one run, and the few that exist are already becoming collector pieces. Values are climbing. The handful of CT6V sedans equipped with the original Blackwing are appreciating faster than almost anyone expected, because enthusiasts now realize what they represent, not just horsepower. A crossroads in automotive history, the moment when old-school combustion engineering reached astonishing heights, right before the industry pivoted toward electrification. And honestly, the timing couldn't have been crueler. Imagine if the Blackwing had launched 10 years earlier, before EV mandates, before collapsing sedan sales, before corporate electrification roadmaps. It might have powered an entire generation of Cadillac performance cars. A Blackwing-powered Escalade V terrorizing luxury SUVs. A Blackwing coupe competing with the M4 and C63. Maybe even a mid-engine halo car to challenge Corvette. Instead, the engine became a footnote. A masterpiece trapped in the wrong era. And yet, maybe that's exactly why people are obsessed with it now. Because car enthusiasts can sense when something special slips away. The same thing happened with the Lexus LFA's V10, the BMW S85 V10, the Mercedes 6.2 naturally aspirated AMG engines. Machines that didn't make financial sense anymore. Machines built by engineers chasing passion instead of spreadsheets. The Blackwing belongs in that conversation. Even its sound was unique. Not the raw thunder of an old big block. Not the scream of a Ferrari. It had this deep, smooth, almost mechanical growl layered with turbo whistle and induction noise. Sophisticated, controlled, dangerous. Like the engine knew exactly how much power it had. And maybe the craziest part? Most people still don't know it existed. Ask the average car enthusiast about Cadillac performance engines, and they'll mention the CTS-V or the supercharged LT4. The original Blackwing barely enters the conversation. That's how quickly it disappeared. But inside GM, engineers reportedly loved this engine. Some insiders believed it represented the absolute peak of what Cadillac engineering could become. There were rumors of higher output versions being tested. Rumors of applications beyond the CT6. Engineers had supposedly tested configurations pushing 600 horsepower, maybe more. Then the shutdown orders came. Programs were canceled. Budgets disappeared. The future became electric. And just like that, one of America's most advanced V8 engines became an orphan. No dramatic ending. No public farewell. No legendary final race. Just silence. A quiet death behind corporate boardroom doors. That's what makes this story so strange. Usually, engines die because they're unreliable. Too weak. Too dirty. Too expensive to fix. The Blackwing died because it arrived at the exact moment the automotive world stopped believing engines like it had a future. And in a weird way, that makes it even more important. Because the Blackwing was proof that internal combustion still had unexplored potential left. Proof that American engineers could build something every bit as advanced as Europe's best. Proof that GM wasn't just about pushrod V8s and muscle car nostalgia. And proof that sometimes the greatest machines don't fail publicly. Sometimes they disappear before the world even notices they were here. That's why the Blackwing story still matters today. Not because it dominated racing. Not because millions were sold. But because it became a symbol of an ending. The final moment before the industry changed forever. A hand-built twin-turbo V8 masterpiece, killed before the public ever truly saw what it could become. And honestly, that might be what makes it unforgettable. If you enjoyed this story, let me know what forgotten engine or hidden automotive project you want to see next. There are so many incredible machines that vanished before they ever got the recognition they deserved. And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive into the stories car history almost forgot.